to another Ref Brandon and the Todd Family YouTube video. Wherever you are, whatever you may be doing, so much for making Ref Brandon and the Todd Family today. We always greatly appreciate it. If you jump on here on this Wednesday evening, feel free to leave a comment in the comment section down below. Make sure to give the video a like, a thumbs up. If you have not yet subscribed, please do so and share the video on all social media platforms. Happy July to everybody out there. Hard to believe it's already July. And normally on Wednesday evenings I do my top 10 countdown. Good evening, Kevron. Glad to have you here as always. But if you missed last night's video, I did my top 10 countdown this week in last night's video, and I did it because for whatever reason last week's top 10 countdown just did not load. I don't know why, but it didn't. So unless you watched it live, you wouldn't know that I did one last week, but I did. So instead of making everybody wait another, I went ahead and did this week's top 10 countdown last night. Now tonight I'm not going to do a dad joke in this video, and I'm going to bring up something that I mentioned last week, and I'm going to talk more about it tonight. And if you are a wrestling fan or know someone who is, I'd love to get your feedback. As a matter of fact, I appreciate your feedback because the point of doing this is to get feedback. But I'm going to give you the women's bracket tonight, and my hope is to give you the tag team bracket tomorrow night. And then hopefully we'll do the singles bracket next week. But I mentioned last week that me and my man JJ, who I do a weekly podcast with called Wrestling and Racing, over on the Greenville Sports Media YouTube page. And I believe they also have a TikTok taken at Greenville SM. But anyway, him and I are doing these wrestling brackets. And it's a lot like the March Madness bracket, with the difference being there are no crappy wrestlers in this, because you want to get down to the best of the best, but you want the best of the best to beat other great wrestlers to get there and not beat crappy people. So when we narrowed these lists down, we eliminated the bad ones so that the ones left would be the good ones, so you wouldn't have, people that advance easy by being really good and get matched up with somebody really bad. But it's just like the March Madness bracket once you get past the first round. Now the men, we're probably going to have 64 or 68, but with the tag teams and the women, we've narrowed it down to 32. So we've got 4 different brackets with 8 tag teams or 8 women in each bracket. And then, we pick winners until we're down to the final 4. Now our hope is the final 4 will be done at Arden's Burger and Grill over in Central South Carolina. And we're going to try to make this thing last as long as possible. But the only way it lasts is to get good feedback, because otherwise me and JJ are doing all the eliminations ourselves, and that's very easy when it's just him and I doing it, as opposed to having to count up all the votes that we got. So I'd love to get your feedback. And Kicks, I hate to tell you, but if you came here to say something that dumb, you're in the wrong channel, because you can't have 900 organizations and then try to convince yourself wrestling is dead. Makes absolutely zero sense. Might be dead in your fake reality, but the real reality is it's on TV 7 days a week, and something that's dead, it can't be on TV 7 days a week. Not to mention pay-per-views. Hey there, Brett. Glad to have you here. And your name is JJ, and I hope you are a wrestling fan, because we're fixing to talk some wrestling. As I said, tonight I'm going to give you the women's bracket. And I know not everybody watches women's wrestling, but if you do, I'd love to get your feedback. If you don't, don't throw a name out there because you think the woman is pretty or you recognize the name. If you don't watch it, you don't watch it. But if you watch it a little bit, if you just want to give one vote for one match, that's fine. You don't have to vote in every single match. But I'm going to do the women tonight, and my hope is to do the tag teams tomorrow night, and then the singles wrestlers next week. Because like I said, we got 32 women wrestlers down to the final four, and then we got 32 tag teams down to the final four, and then we're probably going to have 64 or 68 men. So that bracket's going to take a long time. But with the women, we got, as I said, we got 4 brackets with 8 women in each bracket. We've got Charlotte Flair versus Akira Hikaru, Michelle McCool versus Mae Young, Alexa Bliss versus Rhea Ripley, and Io Sky versus Awesome Kong. Now, JJ, if you like Roman Reigns, you make sure you tune in whatever day next week. We talk about it on here. Now, me and my man JJ will talk about it over on the Greenville Sports Media channel. We do our podcast there usually on Monday. Right now, with us doing this bracket, we're doing them on Monday and then again either on Tuesday or Wednesday. So you can watch on there, and you can also watch on here next week whenever we do the men. But if you watch any women wrestlers, you can comment on this as well. Another bracket we have the Fabulous Moolah versus Deonna Purrazzo, Trish Stratus versus Toni Storm, Beth Phoenix versus Gail Kim versus Bull Nakano. In our third bracket, we have Medusa versus Jordan Grace, Ember Moon versus Victoria, Sasha Banks versus Natalia, and Bayley versus Taryn Terrell. And now in our fourth and final bracket, we have Asuka versus Lita, Bianca Belair versus Mickie James, Molly Holly versus Chris Statlander, and Paige versus Liv Morgan. And I was going to give you both tonight. The only reason why I didn't is because, for one, it's a lot to remember and write down at one time. But for two, I've got the tag team brackets on my phone, and I can't look at that bracket on my phone while I'm looking at you on YouTube on my phone. So I've got to transfer it from my phone over to a piece of paper, and then we'll do that. If nothing changes and nothing happens, that'll be, if you're a wrestling fan or know someone that is, tell them to tune in and either come back on this video and comment, or any video you can comment. It doesn't have to be a wrestling video. Just get on the comment section, click on a video, and then comment, and then, you know, whatever match you want to vote on, just say Charlotte Flair, or just say Fabulous Moolah, or just say Becky Lynch, you know, whatever, whoever. And each vote we get is greatly appreciated. You can comment on here, or if you're on Facebook, you can send me a direct message on Facebook. That counts as well. Or you can vote over on the Greenville Sports Media YouTube channel. You don't have to break it down. The only thing we're really going to break down is when we get down to the final 4 women and the final 4 tag teams and the final 4 men. Then, you know, me and JJ and everybody else doing the podcast with us will, you know, vote on who we'd vote for and why. But until then, we're not really breaking it down. We're just saying, hey, if these 2 girls are fighting, who wins? Hey, if these 2... Any thoughts on any of this, please feel free to let me know. And that does it for today's Ref Brandon and the Todd Family YouTube video. Until next time, it's Ref Brandon saying, just like in pro wrestling, life by the count of 3. Tell your friends and family how much you love them.